This is Daryl as a Service. I have been meaning to get in touch with this lovely person to catch up and find out what's going on. Introduce yourself, Naomi.
Thanks so much, Daryl. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and it's a pleasure to catch up with you finally as well. So lots of things going on. So for the folks who don't know me, I'm Naomi Moneypenny. I lead our content services and insights team now at Microsoft 365, and I look after a really cool group of folks who are developing new tech and new products, new services, I should say, around content services and insight engines, which includes Microsoft Search as part of that.
Well, speaking of insights and updates, have you got a new background there? Is this a filter like the blue background? What's happening?
Well, it's just funny you should mention that, because today we are off campus, so we're actually having a very freak snowstorm going on in the Seattle area today, so which is unusual for the Pacific Northwest. So we've got some snowmageddon, I've heard snow couplings and all kinds of things. But yes, this is a whole new feature of Teams now that's actually causing blur outside of the windows, right? So
wow.
Thing. So,
I had wondered. I had assumed it was just a frosted window, but wow, that's quite something.
But you see the frosting moving in pretty snowflakes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Look, so coming back to Ignite, Microsoft Search was announced, and I know it's been a focus for you for some time, and there's a lot of work that's gone on in the background. Why is Search so important? Why has it come together as Microsoft Search rather than across different platforms and different search engines?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great way to think about it, is really that Microsoft 365 value prop altogether of everything we're doing from Windows, inside of Office 365, even experiences that you're having inside of Bing and Edge and all of the other search surfaces. And we really want to think about that value proposition for search is not just about finding sets of results, it's really about getting answers, getting insights, and being able to take action on the information that you need. So we're really thinking about search as a very powerful way to have a conversation in a way, if you will, and looking for that information. But we also want to give you lots of different ways to find, to command, to navigate, and to discover all of the content and expertise that you need inside of your organization. So it was something that was a long time in the making. We were really excited during Ignite to be able to tell you about this, because finally we got all of these search canvases doing the same thing, really using that same back-end power so you can access all of the information you have inside of your organization, and most importantly, be able to reuse it, right? Be able to recreate more information, reuse the knowledge that you have, and be able to find more things. So we know it was a long time. We know we're still rolling out. We said it was going to be a long journey, so hopefully people have some patience with us with that. But we were excited to be able to at least showcase the vision of where we're going. And that, of course, includes, other pieces too. It's not just inside of that Microsoft ecosystem. So obviously, we're very familiar with search inside of Office 365 and all the great documents you might have in OneDrive and conversations in Teams and Yammer and Outlook and Sharepoint and all the sites and all the information that you have access to, of course, inside of Microsoft 365. But as part of that vision, we really announced this idea of being able to have connectors into the ecosystem of data that your organization uses. And so having access to that third-party content is really critical as well as part of what we're doing. And so when we think about this, it's that very holistic value proposition of I can search, I can find the things that I need, I can get answers, I can take actions, I can even search for commands inside of an application. So all of those things coming together in search and being able to do that across the entire data estate for your organization. So really exciting stuff, and I hope that folks are really excited too about it.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I like the point you made about there is information, data, things that we've already done, and so often we can lose sight of that, and search is what brings it to the forefront. And what has already been released is actually already making an impact. Clicking into that search box wherever it is and presenting you with Delve-like results that say, hey, you've been connected with this person, you've potentially interested in this document. So it's good to see it in action already.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and it's all powered, of course, by the Microsoft Graph, right? And the graph is something we've been on that long journey with, and that's really sort of understanding the depth of the signals that are inside of the graph and the content and the people that you're working with. So if you think way back, that journey we've had, if you're familiar with fast search, right, way back in, I think it's 2008, Microsoft acquired them, and that was kind of the beginnings of what we then called was the Office Graph as part of that. And then we really sort of took the next set of signals, which was really around social signals and the acquisition of Yammer with Open Graph technology that came in through that, and conversations and the way that we think about social signals generally in the organization. So that came in 2012. We had Delve, as you mentioned, 2014. That was our first application that was based on the Microsoft Graph and basically was able to show you results, everything from email attachments to, again, sites, pages, people's profiles, their calendar information, all of that stuff put together in one place. And now, 2017, we looked at personalized search. And so we really are using the graph results to basically help rank the things that you're seeing. So when we do a search query, if you do a search query for marketing and I do the same search query for marketing, we'll see two different sets of results, just based on, again, the things that we have permissions to, but also the way that we're determining relevancy for you based on your activity inside the graph. So the people you're working with every day, the collaboration, the meetings, all of that stuff.
That's a really interesting point, because you've got the likes of Google and Bing, and of course on a commercial standpoint, the rankings of results are based on search engine optimization, and sometimes there's that section there that says ads, which people are paying for. But when it's personalized search, it is about ranking it based on what's going to be the most relevant to you, not to a general audience. Great point.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so if you think about this as the scale and scope of that we're doing this personalization, obviously it's specific to you as an organization, it's specific to you as an individual inside of that organization. And then we're doing this, of course, for 155 million users of Office 365 every single month, right? And so just thinking about the scope of the machine learning that we have to bring to bear in order to make that work, and the sheer billions and billions, and it is billions and billions to do my Carl Sagan thing, but it is billions and billions of signals that we have inside of the Microsoft Graph that need to be processed in order to understand, should this thing be a little bit higher in relevancy for Daryl so that he clicks on it? Is it stuff that maybe you worked on before? Because a lot of the scenarios we have with search is people trying to refine the content they've already worked on, for example, right? And so you want to have that, but then you also want to be able to discover information that you don't know about. So we don't want to sort of just show you everything that you already know. We also have to balance that with, okay, what other things could be more relevant in there as well, and then obviously thinking about more organizational considerations too. So sort of just the scope and the scale of that personalization is quite immense. And so now, of course, we're doing that for Microsoft Search and delivering it into one user experience.
Yeah, and well, good to say user experience, because that would be my next question around this is, how do we get people to use it? I know that search is appearing wherever you work, which is a great strategy. It's, there'll be a search box in an application or a search box in a certain page, and it's basically accessing the same engine across wherever you are. But how are you encouraging people into making use of this search?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So there's a few things we want to do. The first thing is to really have that experience where search is front and center. And you've seen this on some of the applications we have, and I can give you a quick demo as well to show some of this. But we're really trying to put search into every application, every experience, as you mentioned. We really think that search should be finding you inside of where you're working, not the other way around. Because for a long time, we've had this kind of consumer paradigm of, I have to break my flow of work. If I'm trying to find a PowerPoint deck that one of my colleagues has created so that I can reuse some of those slides to make my own deck, I have to break that. I have to go out of PowerPoint, I have to go off to the intranet or wherever, and I have to search for content, and I have to look through a bunch of things, and then maybe I find the right thing, and then I have to open it up in PowerPoint and, do all of that work again. And so we really think about Yeah, exactly. And we all do it, right? We all do it. And so now we're just saying, hey, you know what? Search should just be there, right? Should just be in PowerPoint, for example. I'm just picking on PowerPoint, but it's the same for all of the Office applications. It should just be there where I'm doing my work. So whether I'm in Excel, or if I'm in Outlook, or if I'm inside of Teams, or I'm Yammer, or if I'm in Sway, or if I'm in OneNote, or any of these things, right? Any of the applications that you work with inside of Microsoft 365, we want to be able to have that search function be front and center. And so that it'll be there as part of those experiences. And so when you have that ability, then you're very easily able to either, again, find things inside of the application. You're able to find content that comes from other applications, be able to open that up. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to find an Excel file if I'm in PowerPoint and I do that search and I need to open up an Excel file. Why do I have to break that and go into a web browser, right? I want to think about, maybe I can just go straight from PowerPoint into Excel or whatever. So it's kind of a way to think about it. So we really think about search as that utility, but we want to have it be everywhere that you are, so that we're able to basically drive you towards taking action on that content faster.
Now, one thing before we take a look at some of the demo too, there was a recent change or announcement in the Message Center, 365 Message Center, about changing the Office.com starting page to default back to the far more functional page that we have now. If you've set it to Yammer or you start your day in SharePoint or somewhere else, it's now going to be directed back to Office.com. And I know that something, apart from the page being more functional, we've got something on there that's quite important too, which is search. So is there a strategy or a thought behind that? Is it all part of the same strategy?
Yeah, exactly. So when we think about Office.com, it's really that destination for where you start your day, and maybe it's where you come back for getting content that you were recently working on. And I know I definitely improved my daily work by using it, just because it shows me across the whole breadth of things that I'm working on. Here's the content that's been interacted with recently. Maybe after I've closed a document and saved my changes, I want to be kept up to date with other people's changes or comments that came in later. And Office.com is awesome for that. Basically flags and helps with that. So I'm happy to show it to you and sort of see what, some of the things that we've done there, because it's an important part of where we see, I think, the strategy going, of having that one place that you interact and not worry about, am I starting in a specific application? How do I just get the overview of everything that I've been working on, and having one place to go from there. So
excellent.
I'll always show you that too. So I'll try to
let's do that.
My screen.
We'll set up sharing your screen.
So I'm right here in Office.com, as we mentioned. And so if you haven't logged in for a while to Office.com, definitely recommend that you do that. You can get in through www.office.com and just do sign in. Or sometimes I hit the old URL, which is portal.office.com. Sometimes it's easier to remember depending on who you are and how old you are, probably.
How old school you are, yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you're still a Portal person in your head, then you understand that. But it's basically, once you've logged in with your Office 365 credentials, it's a really great way to be able to see all of the information that you have access to. Of course, we mentioned that search box up at the top of the screen, and it's always going to be up there inside of the header, and that's an important detail, and I'll come back to that in just a second. But we notice here that you have also a bunch of the applications that you use, and if you've ever wondered what you have access to in your Office 365 subscription, this is a good place to be able to do that, because oftentimes, we get stuck in just using the certain kind of tools every day. And this actually has a whole section on kind of recommending what applications you could be using and things that you have access to inside of your organization. So for example, you can see, here are all of the applications that this particular account here has access to, and I could check out these different areas and I'd be able to play around with that tech. Sometimes, we may not realize we have access to things like Forms, for example, which is a great product, just, becoming part of the Office family more generally, I would say. And so, that's a good one to be able to use in there. And so it helps you do all of those, that connection, sort of understanding there. And then you can even do things like installing the Office applications. So if you're doing this, whether it's in your consumer subscription or your commercial subscription, you can actually download the Office apps from here as well. And so it makes it simple too. But there's a few areas I want to draw your attention to. One is this kind of recommended area here. And this recommended area is the one that I use a whole lot. And it's something we just rolled out just a few months ago now. And so when you see this recommended area, you'll see here I've got files that I've opened recently. Well, that's pretty standard stuff. But it's really helpful when I'm interacting and collaborating on a document. So for example, inside of a PowerPoint document or a Word document, if I've looked at that document, I've made my changes, and then I closed it, gone off and doing whatever else I need to do in my workday. When one of my colleagues goes in and maybe adds a comment or revises something, it'll actually get flagged in here to say, hey, Naomi, you should recommend you look at this document because, Darryl mentioned you as part of this comment, or here's something that got updated. And it actually flags that information to you. So it makes it really easy to go back and find it. It also helps you
see the flag there, Naomi? Is that in the activity
column? Yeah, so it actually says it up here. So where I have this text right here, it says you recently
Right.
opened this document. In here, it actually says, something like, Daryl Webster has commented on this document, right? And it'll actually flag it in there to you.
Great.
And it'll also show you things like sharing. So, for example, and I do this all the time, we live in meetings a lot every day, of course. And so when you've got PowerPoint decks that were shared with you in the meeting, you're trying to get back to that information, you can see that in here too. So it'll actually say, Daryl Webster shared this with you in a meeting. And so you can scroll back and that information too. So it's very helpful. And then, as we store here, there's this recent column, and this recency column here is really, again, driven by the activities that you've been doing. So it's kind of a little bit different than this recommended thing. Recommended is really around, things that you're taking action on and that it thinks it needs to prompt you on. Recency is purely just by stuff that you've been interacting with. You can also see content that's been shared with you. So again, if somebody's shared PowerPoint decks or something with you, it helps to be able to see that. And then you can see the activity that's happened as well there. So if Daryl shared a presentation with me, I don't remember where it is, it makes it easy, right? And so you can see in this case, Alex has replied to Grady's comment in here, and we've got that there. And then we have the discover function too, and this is something we really brought first to bear with Delve, and now we're integrating it into lots of other places too. And so this discovery function is really driven off of the insight in the Microsoft Graph. So it actually looks at collaboration patterns that we have inside of the Microsoft Graph, and sort of the colleagues that you're working with, the content that you're interacting with. And it's looking for things to actually suggest to you that might be of interest. And so you can investigate, obviously, and go look through there and see, what's going on and how that stuff is relevant for you. And it's really interesting to think about this because, of course, it's only ever going to suggest things here to you that you have access to. It's all part of that same permissions that we have in the Microsoft Graph. But oftentimes,
Don't be
it's
too
really
worried,
interesting.
isn't it?
Yeah,
There was
no,
all that
I know.
worry about,
People
no.
Exactly. That people get concerned that you're going to see something you're not supposed to. But this is the same file permissions. We don't do anything different with it. We're using the existing file permissions here. But it helps you to understand. So I get actually a lot of insight with this in terms of looking at what other colleagues are working on that maybe are people that I don't interact with on a regular basis, but it's kind of interesting to see, okay, there's something that's kind of relevant because it's in a similar domain, and actually you get a lot of cross computation with that as well. So it's helpful. And then of course you see at the bottom here, we've got Onedrive and Sharepoint, sort of the frequent sites and things that you're following. So Office.com is really, shaping up that kind of start page and page where I can go back to finding my information really quickly. Now, of course, as part of that transformation, we put in this Microsoft search box. The search header is like, yay! And something makes me really excited because we have it obviously not just in Office.com, but we are planning to have it across the entire suite. And so this is something, think carefully about as well. So as soon as I click into that search header, I'm getting basically suggestions of searches here. So I'm getting applications that I interact with the most. I'm getting files in this case that I'm interacting with. So maybe I've been at a meeting and I'm trying to get back to the thing I was trying to work on before. It's going to show me the information that's most relevant and most recent for me here. And then it's going to show me things like people results as part of this, people that I've been interacting with, and site results in here as well. And then, of course, as soon as I do a search, I'll do a search here. So to start typing for something like marketing, we can do things like we'll see the file results here, we can see people results, and we'll see site results, and we can get all of that, good results as part of this. So I can search for marketing in this case, and I'll get a whole bunch of information here. So, I can get a good experience from this. This is using that modern search experience. So all of the search ranking in here is based, again, on the Microsoft Graph. All of that is personalized. Again, if you did the same search, you'd see a slightly different, set of ranking and results, even if we had exactly the same access to the same content. Just because your collaboration patterns are a little bit different than mine, you'll see that ranking be different.
Well, and an example of that, I guess, and to highlight the Sharepoint news, there might be some marketing news that's available to the whole company, but maybe as marketing your team, your Microsoft team, then it's just news articles and pages that are relevant to your team and not to the rest.
Exactly. And it's all about, again, having access to that whole scope of things that you have access to. But, the first few results, as we know from consumer research, is really all about, where we expect to find a result. And, making sure those feel very relevant. And then, as willingness to explore, you can go down the page and find, more information that could be a little bit more, driven from something else that you might want to learn about. So it's kind of oftentimes the first few results are things that we think are very close matches to what you're looking for as a personalization, right. And then afterwards it's looking for things a little bit more out of left field, because we want you to be able to get that balance again between discovery and refinding of things that exist already. And of course, you're seeing here, I've got things from Onedrive as well. So I'm seeing, my personal results, and we've made, changes to make that very clear here. What's sort of in my personal results, because people were before of like, hey, I can see files that only I have access to, right? Things that maybe I only have a draft to, for example, and I don't want everybody in the company. And so we've made it very clear, like, these are from your OneDrive. So, exactly. So it makes a big difference to that kind of user experience there. And so when we announced Microsoft Search way back in, I guess, September, October last year, it's only been 3 months, I guess, but it's been a while. But that sort of search header is sort of really canonical to what we're doing. And so right here inside of office.com, obviously this is available now with that search header, but it is coming to all of the other applications too. So right. I'm just showing you here, this is PowerPoint Online. The same thing is true in Word Online. The same thing is true in Excel Online. So you'll see that search box is going to be in that same header in the same place. And so, I can still do a search across the suite if I wanted to, but it's actually going to start weighting things that are more PowerPoint related, as I'm interacting inside of PowerPoint here. So it's kind of a good way to see that. So you can see, even though it says PowerPoint Online, I've got that search box right. coming right in here as well.
And I actually did notice that too, that partway through last year, that we ended up having a landing page specific to the app, that when you're clicking into it, it narrows it down to, these are the application, rather the documents and the activity around that particular app.
Exactly right. So you can see that, when I contrast this with the office.com page, in this case, I was seeing a whole bunch of different activity, but you can see some of them were Word documents and some were PowerPoint. And then when I'm over in that PowerPoint online, it's just showing me the stuff that's PowerPoint related. Same thing in the recency and the discovery and all of that piece too. So very helpful again, to look at this. And so that same experience is coming to these Office Online applications. And of course, we're bringing it also to the desktop application as well. And that's a very key moment and something that I've really benefited from, I have to say. So I was going to show you a little bit as well inside of PowerPoint Online. Hopefully you can still see my screen for the PowerPoint desktop application too. Okay, it's all good. So you can see, so I'm here inside of Microsoft PowerPoint, the desktop version. And again, I'm just showing PowerPoint here as an example. The same is true inside of Word. It was the same true inside of Excel, and obviously coming to all of the other applications that you know and love every day. Outlook, obviously Teams already has the central search bar as well, and there'll be even more improvements coming to that as well. So you can see as soon as I come into PowerPoint, so I can do that same search right inside of here. So if I click in, I've got that search box. I can do a search for things here. And so as soon as I click into that search box, in this case, you're seeing that I'm getting actually recommendations, in this case, of commands inside of the application as well. So this is actually super helpful for finding things, sort of without having to hunt through the ribbon, trying to find the useful command, or maybe you've forgotten the name of the, Yeah, sure.
We've got the what do you want to do search box, which is currently there, and that's like basically guiding you through to commands based on search. Is it now being combined into the same search box?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you think we have, tell me sort of area before, right, with ideas and all those things. And so that piece is really getting folded into everything we're doing here with Microsoft Search. And so we're just shifting that box up into the header so it's consistent and that you can access, commands inside of the application. So I can easily do a search in here, if I do something, design ideas, right? I start typing for design. You'll see that design ideas comes up inside of Microsoft PowerPoint. So very helpful for being able to format your information. But then you can see I'm also getting things like people results in here. I'm getting recommended actions of other things that I might want to do. So maybe I don't remember that, how to get to, for example, change the background color on a slide, but maybe it's something to do with design. And so I'm starting to type design, but I'm not really sure what I'm looking for. So you can see it's actually recommending something like format background in there, or maybe the pens that I'm using to draw with, because it's trying to suggest me things that are actually useful in where it thinks I am in the stage of this document. And then it's also showing me, of course, other documents here. So, for example, I'm getting a Word document here, and I'm also getting, PowerPoint files that are relevant as well here. So, it's looking for all that information for me. And I could easily transition here to Word, for example, if I wanted to go straight there. Or I could go in, for example, into this particular slide deck on PowerPoint Designer.
And reuse slides.
Yeah, right from there. So that reuse slide command is actually coming over as well into this into the home button here too, in the home menu. So just showing you a different way to be able to get to that. So if I click on this new slide option, which we're all familiar with, if I click on the reuse slide option, it'll actually open up a pane on the right-hand side. And that's actually powered by Microsoft Search. So it's that same search experience. So all the content you have access to on your intranet in this case. And you can see in this case, I'm getting a bunch of files that I've been working on recently. And so I see all of that information. And then I could very easily, take one of these slides. So, for example, if I was going to reuse one of these slides here, I can go in here and I can look through the slides and say, okay, this is the one that I want to be able to reuse, and that will insert that slide directly into this deck. So again, minimizing that whole journey we talked about earlier in terms of, I have to go find the deck, I have to, open up a web browser, look through a bunch of information,
copy paste,
and I can, yes, do all of that stuff.
Brilliant.
So makes it a lot easier. Same search experience right here inside of Word and the applications that you're using every single day. So pretty powerful stuff. And then the last one I wanted to show you is really around the Microsoft Search in Bing experience. So I will pop over there. It's all good. So this is the Microsoft Search in Bing experience. And as we mentioned, our vision around Microsoft Search is really holistic across what you're doing with Microsoft 365. So we don't want to just limit it obviously to the Office applications where we're creating content, or the services that we deliver like SharePoint, OneDrive, and across the entire suite, Teams, Yammer, all of the conversation, Outlook, everything else. We also want to put this inside of other experiences. So for example, inside of Windows Search, which I can show you, as well as what we do with Microsoft Search inside of Bing. And with Bing, it's a truly a unique experience. We're really proud of this experience, and it makes it easy for you to find both the intranet results that you need, as well as internet results that are specific for your company. And so it's a really crucial sort of value proposition, because oftentimes when we don't know what to search for or where to search, we might start with a consumer engine. And that's actually one of the reasons that we even created this Microsoft Search and Bing experience. And it's something we ran for private preview for almost a year before we sort of made it more publicly available. So public preview just began at Ignite last year. And so it was very important for us to look at sort of the volume of searches that were happening inside of an intranet, and the volume of searches that we're looking sort of on the commercial internet, and then just looking at some of the workforce habits in terms of people not knowing where to search, and so they would just search, their commercial search engine, and that's not always a good idea, frankly, or finding the results that you're looking for. And so what we've done here with Microsoft Search in Bing, and it's available right now in a few countries, and it will be coming out later on in the next few months. You'll have it worldwide availability. But basically, I'm signed in here with my Office 365 account. So that same thing I would use to get into office.com. And I have that work or school account right here. And I'm logged in. And then I could do a search in here. So, for example, you can see other searches that I've been working on. But I could do a search, sort of a name or something in here. And I'll start seeing some of the results as part of that. So, for example, if I do a search for time off, I can look through results that come back for that. And I'll see, obviously, the internet results here. But I will importantly see this gray area on the screen here at the top. And this is actually getting fed by the Microsoft Graph. And so I can see the best of kind of the external results as well as the best of the internal results. And as an organization, I can actually curate these results. So, for example, we've got basically a best bet or a bookmark, as we call them now, where we're actually taking you to a tool, for example, here, and I can check out those bookmarks and I can see a bunch of other information. But if I do a search for something like, marketing, for example, here, just do that same search that we did with office.com. And I get, in this case, I get a bookmark again, but I can click on all results here. And you'll see those set of results here. So I see bookmarks, I see groups that I'm a member of in Office 365. I see files, again, with all of that ranking, right? That ranking that we talked about, and relevancy, specific to me. And then you can see I have sites. And then importantly, I have, Yammer and Teams conversations in here as well. And so those are really critical. We want to have all of that conversational knowledge as part of this too. It's really crucial to what we're working on. But I can also do simple searches like me, for example. If I just did a search for me, you'll see that it finds me as an organization right inside of there. And I can see my calendar, I can get contact details, I can see the sites that I'm looking at and the files that I'm working on. And so this is super helpful as well to get back to the information that you use all the time. And so I can see all of that information here too. And then I can do, a search for a colleague as well, obviously inside of here. So if I do a search for Adele, obviously it's coming up with there's an internet result. But if you look down here, it also is looking at my inside of my company directory, right? So here are the people that are called Adele inside of my organization, and I can click on Adele Vance in this case, and I'm going to get that same information about her as well. And so I can see the files, the sites, conversations, things that we've been involved with, all of those things are right here. And I can see, Yammer and Teams, for example, all in one place. So very helpful and very, sort of robust experience, both from a security perspective
those Yammer
as well
and
as
Teams results, are they based, are those conversational results as in the last posts that they've made?
Yeah, so those conversation results here are the ones that they've been interacting with. And so anytime that Adele's been posting, and then you'll see the time slicing basically that's going back in time. So it's based on recency when I'm just searching for a person. But obviously if I was searching for marketing or whatever, it's going to take the recency in there as well. So just shows all of those different areas coming together. So it's kind of a nice way to look at that information, whether I'm looking through a people view or whether I'm trying to do it through a content view, if you will. So there's those areas. So the other piece that I sort of wanted to explain here is that we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Obviously, this box here is being populated by that Microsoft Graph, so that area is just for your organization. You can do some light branding to it. Of course, you'll see that we have the Contoso Electronics, that famous company. We have that logo there, but companies can change that, of course, to what they need. They can, of course, set up bookmarks that they need as well. You can also import best bets that you might have already established inside of SharePoint as part of that too. But I also want to mention that the kinds of results that we're showing here, when you think about this public information that's down here, we're taking a lot of very careful work to make sure that we're securing and anonymizing that information. So we're looking at both the search terms that people might be putting in. So for example, if you've got a sequence of compound names in chemistry or pharmaceuticals or something like that, that actually might be considered in some shape or form proprietary information that you're looking for this sequence of compounds. And that's something we now anonymize. We don't have any advertising tag to that or anything else. So when you're logged into this Microsoft Search and Bing experience, it truly is a very, very secure experience and not something we're using for, consumer advertising or anything else there. So really looking after you as an employee there too. And of course, your own search history is part of this too. So I have colleagues who like to show their search results and how much the depths of which we go to anonymize this as well. So even when you're searching for information that might be unusual or maybe something you want to keep protected, like what's the maternity policy or something like that, that information is not available to your manager or to your administrator. So we just always look at that information. We make it all anonymous, and then administrators can see things in aggregate, but not for personal results. So just very important to be able to note those things. So yeah, it's a great experience with Microsoft Search and Bing. You can do a lot more than, example, putting bookmarks and tying a Power App to it as well, so you can take action directly from the browser as part of it. But it's a really robust experience, and we like it especially on the go. It's a very useful experience. I often look up people's office numbers and that kind of stuff directly when I'm walking around the building just to find their people card. It makes it so easy to be able to do that. So
this experience too, you can get it from mobile?
Yeah, exactly. So if you logged in, if you just do bing.com on your phone and just log in, as I mentioned before, your Office 365 account, we actually do a whole set of stuff to help, to boost the results even better actually on the mobile experience, because we'll feature people much more. We'll actually lean in a lot heavier to the information we think you need on the go. So it's a really great experience to get the best of both the web and work all together.
Excellent.
So that's, I think that's probably all I need to show you. And hopefully that gives you a taste of it. I do want to mention again with that search box up here, we didn't talk so much about it coming to the other experiences, but know that this search box is coming to every single application, including SharePoint, OneDrive as well. And so be aware of that for sort of intranet planning. I did try to hammer on that at Ignite and some of the sessions we've done since then. But just thinking about sort of the design of your pages, if that's something you're reformatting for your intranet right now, know that search box will be coming in there in the next few months as well. Something to just be aware of as part of the user change and adoption type of area as well.
Brilliant. So thanks, Naomi. That was excellent. Being able to walk through and see how far the Microsoft Search permeates across all the platform, into applications, into online experience, into the commercial going to bing.com, and even into mobile as well. So what we're seeing really is that it's making it far easier for people to find information, to even find commands, to interact with the platform and wherever they work. What else would you say would sort of sum up about Microsoft Search? If there's one thing that you want to really just keep in people's minds as they're going forward with it? I
think with Microsoft Search, we're really trying to bring that experience again of search meeting you wherever you are. And that's the reason that we're really driving this behind the scenes. And so it is a long journey. We've asked for customers' patience on this. I realize it takes a while. We've got some stuff that's out there already, but we're really excited about bringing the rest of it too. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to bring in even more data over time. So that whole idea of how we're connecting out to your ecosystem, we're doing a lot of work on the back end as well in terms of administration. We realize that right now you have pretty fragmented experience, so we apologize for that in terms of the search experiences. And so we're bringing all of that together in one administration area, and then looking at the other kinds of roles that need to be involved in administrating search, which is obviously sometimes not anything to do with IT, sometimes more of a business focus to it as well. So we're looking at that, but we're really driving this towards delivering you insight, and that's really our focus going forward. So we hope that same Microsoft search bar will be everywhere, and that will help a lot more of that interaction. But we're really driving forward to sort of making it part of every day and the work that you do without breaking the experience of where you're creating and coordinating and harvesting that knowledge.
Brilliant. And if anyone wants to find out more about Microsoft Search and getting started with it at the current stage today, where do they go to find out about that?
Sure. Well, we had a bunch of great Ignite sessions, obviously, so you check those out. So if you search for getting started with Microsoft Search, there's a session that Matt Akers and I did for administrators, I would say, to sort of help you turn on the toggles and all that good stuff for public preview and look for that information. If you're interested in hybrid search as well, we talked a little bit about there. So know that the existing ways that we have for information to get into the graph. So if you're doing hybrid search right now, that still comes under what we're doing with Microsoft Search. So no change there, still running Cloud SSA, still pushing stuff to the graph that way. We'll have even more improvements, obviously, with connectors and bringing in Office, external data to Office 365. And then I would just check out, the blog itself. So aka.ms/Microsoft Search will help you just to get a remit of all of the things that we're doing as part of this. And then, of course, the Sharepoint conference North America will be coming up in May. So you'll see a lot more then.
Definitely. Well, that's great. Thank you so much again, Naomi, for bringing us up to speed with search and talking about the strategy and how we can get engaged with it. And we'll check again with you again some other time.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of fun things coming. So I'm very excited about the work we're doing in content services and insight engines, which is what we're doing with Microsoft Search. So awesome. Thanks so much, Daryl. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.